Good evening. This is a quick vlog update. I haven't done this in probably almost a couple weeks. Anyway, I just wanted to check in since I haven't done it. I've been stressing a whole lot this month about money, of course, as always. And next month I'll be stressed about money too. The reason for that is I'm selling my house in Oregon, my rental property. That's the one I used. I refinanced that house, pulled out 100 grand, used that money to start the fourplex. Then used some of that money to rehab the fourplex, bought the Tesla, put the Tesla up on Turo. And so the Tesla and the fourplex are what are meant to support the 501c3 bunker project that I've been struggling to keep off the ground, really, just to keep from falling under, and now to actually build it into something. So anyway, I'm pretty excited though that finally feel like I'm getting there. So I'm here in Arizona with my son. One of the goals of buying the fourplex was to clear up a conflict of interest and get the place, the 501c3, the house up there in Vegas, stabilized or well funded enough so I'm not having to live there and house hack and scrimp and do everything I can to keep the place afloat by using my own money, my own earnings or lack of earnings. So anyway, that's about it with the fourplex. So or fourplex, Tesla, bunker project. So all that's up in Vegas. So now that the fourplex is going, it's cash flowing. The Tesla is also cash flowing. All we need is $10,000 a year to be able to cover 4 months. Notification just popped up on my phone that distracted me. 4 months of rent for the 5 veterans that live in the house, and then the 1 veteran who will live for free as house manager, basically serving as like an on-site property manager. No, won't pay any rent in exchange for that. So anyway, so we got that house, and I'll be covering the rent with the fourplex and the Tesla, and that'll make more than $10,000 a year, I'm pretty sure. And any reserve will go back into a reserve account for the fourplex and Tesla, for HKV, the LLC I had set up for that. And then I had set up recently a second LLC, it's K&R Property Ventures. And K&R Property Ventures is meant for 20 unit apartment buildings or bigger, or a 20 unit apartment building or bigger per each LLC, that kind of thing. So I know that these videos are pretty janky, not very professional, that kind of stuff. And I just wanted to start posting regardless, even if it is like this, just so people can see the kind of raw of what it's like, getting an LLC off the ground, being an entrepreneur in the beginning phases, what it's like to try to run a nonprofit, especially, in the beginning stages. A lot of the stuff that's online, especially the stuff that I've learned from, is people with hypercars and mansions, and they're doing really well, and then telling you, to copy them and all that kind of stuff. And it was kind of with this like promise that, hey, if you do what I do, you'll end up like me. But who knows? That might just be an enticement to get you to keep giving them your money. I don't know. So anyway, I thought this would be an interesting way to do it raw like this, where you could just kind of hear it from somebody in the beginning phases, what it's kind of like. So that's where I'm at, struggling. And the reason I'm struggling, by the way, is so my tenant's lease in Oregon was up on November 1st. But November, the weather's pretty terrible in Oregon. It's not a good time to be trying to sell. So I offered to give her 2 months of free rent in exchange for if she'd be willing to move out a little earlier. And she said, okay. So that was great. So she's gonna move out on October 1st, moving into a nice duplex. So not a huge step down from the house, which is good, because I was kind of worried about that. Glad she was able to find a place and all that. So so that's that with the tenant. So she's gonna move out, get her place. But in order to do that, I had to forgive the 2 months of rent. So that's $1,800 a month for 2 months that I'm not getting. And I don't have a huge amount of reserves stacked up to be able to make that. Like I said, with running this nonprofit, just getting the LLC, just starting on Turo, all the business expenses that come with that, credit counseling, I don't know, it's one of the things I just paid for, forming the LLC, the filing fees for the 501c3, that's been a huge pain. So one of the things there with the 501c3, the state of Nevada says they have 2 different forms for you to fill out depending on where your entity was formed. And the Bunker Project was formed in Washington State. So I filled out a form that we are only an out-of-state entity, a foreign nonprofit to Nevada. Meaning we only pay a $50 fee because we pay most of our fees to Washington. But then they came back and said, no, that was the wrong form. You need to fill out this other form that comes with a $400 fee. So I filled that one out, sent that in. And then the person rejected it again and said, I don't know why you sent this $400. You had already taken care of this a few months ago. So yeah, dealing with government regulations and trying to keep up with all that reporting has been a hassle. But it is what it is. Getting a little better as I go. Hopefully start to have a guide star profile and all that as the conflict of interest is cleared up. And what that conflict of interest was me living in the house and me owning the house, and then me being on the board of the nonprofit. All that together, it's conflict of interest, right? It's well, nobody wants to donate to a house that I'm living in, which is understandable. So didn't ask for any donations over that time, but now that I'm moving out, we can finally start to apply for some grants and expand this Bunker Project model to other cities. So one of the things I'm super grateful for, I had mentioned before that I wanted to end my videos with a gratitude, something I'm grateful for. So today I am grateful that I am able to move back to Phoenix to be close to my son. So hence hanging out with this guy right now, building Legos. What makes that possible is getting the fourplex in Tesla and getting that nonprofit off the ground. And with that, clearing up the conflict of interest. So now I'm no longer living in that house. So there's no personal gain there. And then as far as me having the loan in my name, I'm gonna head down so I just learned about something called a deed in trust. And so that's what I'm gonna do with the house is deed in trust over to the Bunker Project, and then just lease the house to the Bunker Project, basically. And the deed is in its name, it will be in its name, so that way everyone can know that there's no personal gain for me. That once it's paid off, it belongs to the Bunker Project. It doesn't belong to me. I bought that house with the sole intention of giving it away, not to make a single dime profit off it. And I'm sticking to that, and that's why I wanted to make these videos. Another reason, so we could, so you could see, that look, there's no personal gain here. There's no, I'm not making a dime here. I'm not making anything. Don't care about notoriety or any of that. As far as the nonprofit goes, it's just really about the fact that there's 22 veterans a day killing themselves, according to the stats or whatever. I know it's a bad stat. It was a rough number anyway. And a lot of the times, there's a suicide, it's somebody I know, and it's been driving me nuts. I got out of the Marine Corps in 2006 with the full intention of putting my military time behind me. It was just a stepping stone to a better life kind of thing. And yet, since I left the service, it won't let me go. You can't escape it because it's just one suicide after another, and it's forced us to kind of pull in tight together and support each other. And then realizing, just watching the nonprofit industry over, since 2006, watching scandal after scandal, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars squandered, on my back and veterans' backs like mine. So a group of Vietnam vets 11 years ago got fed up, formed their own nonprofit. Said, we're gonna fix this, or we're gonna do our own thing. Not realizing that the VA, the federal government, has a requirement that you can't have anyone on your board receiving any kind of federal aid if you're gonna try to apply for federal grants. So you end up with a whole lot of nonprofits that are run by veterans who could actually do some good, who actually know how to help, but they can't help because of this rule. And then you've got a bunch of nonprofits with tons and tons of money, but they don't know what they're doing because they don't have anyone with any actual experience on their board. So they just do a bunch of frivolous stuff that means nothing. Like, I don't know, I'm not going to say anything, I don't want to call anybody out, but it's frustrating. Nonprofit world is super, super frustrating. Yeah. So anyway, that's about all I got. I don't want to end just griping. But I'm glad that I can do something, even if it's small, you know, with that one house, it's only 5 people at a time that I can be helping, which isn't much. But it's quality. I think it's quality, and it'll be better, you know, now that it's funded and we can start doing it the proper way that I've wanted to do it, which is covering the rent for 4 months, having the requirement that they stay in school. So I'm gonna ask that they show me their enrollment forms every time that they re-enroll for the next semester, so I can prove, yes, I am going to school. Now when they're not in school, you know, you got a short time, maybe 3-6 months, I'm not too sure yet, haven't set that in stone. We'll just kind of play that by ear and work with them as they're headed out. You know, probably give them a 6-month window, just because I'm not trying to, you know, cause any strain for anybody, to move out after they're done with their degree, or once they've decided not to continue in school and that's just not for them or something like that, want to go get a career, whatever. I mean, there's that requirement that you got to be in school. And the reason for that is because school is really what's kept me alive since 2006, you know, because I watch, you know, as one brother after another takes their own life. And each time there is, I just, you know, this thought in the back of my head wonders, why wasn't it me? You know, they're not any different than me. Why don't I do that too? That kind of thing. And, you know, one of the big reasons is because I've had school to focus on. You know, I've always had another assignment due, another deadline to focus on, and having those, you know, one deadline after another, even if it's just for school, whether it leads to a career or not, like, it's given me purpose. It's kept me going. You know, I'm done with all my classes through a PhD, except for the dissertation and one test. And, you know, and that's kind of where I'm at. So just taking my experience through that, applying it, applying the knowledge that I've learned along that way. So like, I don't know, one of the things like about knowledge that, I don't know. So like we do program review in criminal justice and social sciences a lot, program review. So we look at nonprofits, we look at, you know, organizations, helping organizations, and evaluate them. And kind of nitpick out, you know, what's good and what's bad, and, you know, what works and what doesn't. And one of the things that came up was these housing projects, and you know, there's a big theme right now I'm seeing with these push for villages, huge villages with, you know, a few hundred people in them, homeless villages, veteran villages, and you know, I'm not going that route for a specific reason, because of the research. Because the research is clear that concentrated poverty equates to concentrated crime, high rates of crime, or increases in crime. Like, you know, that's why government doesn't build massive project buildings anymore like they used to. They used to build these huge low-income housing projects, and those buildings always devolved into major crime, major gang problems. And it's just, you know, when you take a whole bunch of people who aren't working, you know, who might have mental health issues, you know, all the different issues that might come with poverty, you put them all together in one place, it becomes a really toxic environment, and that's where you get a whole lot of crime. And so that's why my house is limited to 5 veterans. You know, other than that, once I can raise more money and then eventually hopefully give away that 4-plex too, that's the next goal. So K&R Property Ventures, that's the whole point of raising the 20 or getting 20 doors plus apartment complexes, because that's the only way. You got to go make more money than you need in order to give it away to the nonprofit, to support the nonprofit. So that's kind of what I did with the 4-plex. You know, 4-plex supports a single family home, 20-unit apartment complex can support the 4-plex, and just keep going, getting more apartment complexes, and establishing more bunker projects, you know, houses near college campuses all around the country. So like now that I'm living in Phoenix, I'm gonna start looking at ASU, start looking at U of A, looking around those campuses, looking for houses, 5-bedroom house, ranch style, ADA, or, disability, all the disability access, preferably, dog yard for service dogs, and then I put a bunch of stuff in the house to try to make it, comforting or, hospitable to veterans, as much as possible, support them through their journey in college. And the idea is, just that, reduce suicide by helping them stay focused on school. People need purpose and meaning in their life. It goes back to the research by Viktor Frankl. Just need to have something that gives you purpose and meaning in order to live. And school is one of the things that can do that. And then from school, a career, and with your career, a family, all that kind of stuff. So those are all the protective factors that keep people from killing themselves, keep people from falling into drug addiction, all of it. So, by doing this model, I feel like I can really make a difference in a whole lot of different areas. Reduce criminogenic factors, we can reduce suicidality, we can reduce homelessness, we can reduce unemployment, we can increase, the wealth of our veterans, just increasing abundance in life. So that's pretty much where I'm at. So I am grateful that I am able to live with my son in Phoenix now instead of the once a month weekend trips or so that I was doing before. So that's all I got. Good night.